Hi guys, welcome in. Today we have a new case, which is actually an article from CNA. So in this article, they talked about financial independence, and together with Ben, we have some thoughts to share with you. So Ben, let's say hi to our audiences.
Hi everyone.
This article is written by Keith. The title, let me read it out for everybody to follow on. By wanting to retire early, millennials are subverting conventional ideas of work and finances. In that case, if you want to read the article, we'll leave in the links below. But subverting is a word that I know when I first saw it, I just felt a bit annoyed because subverting means you undermine the conventional wisdom, which means you kind of feel that it's wrong. That connotation comes about to me, and it really triggers a thought that I remember from Steve Jobs, where he suggested to everybody to not be trapped by dogma, to have your own voice, to not allow what society dictates on us and follow it blindly. So with that, let me run on to some key descriptions in that article with you. Now, many are sprinting towards early retirement, attracted by the prospect of living life on their own terms as early as possible. To do so, millennials are subscribing to FIRE, this FIRE movement. And in particular, FIRE lifestyle is characterized by meticulous planning, extreme frugality, and common sense investing. And in its most extreme form, people minimize expenses by forsaking all frills in life, like dining out with friends and nibbling pastries. So, Ben, what are your thoughts? And do you have any stories or not with regards to this point?
Actually, if you were to look at the FIRE community, FIRE is actually not the end all be all goal for them. So, like for example, if you were to see some people who have achieved financial independence early, after attaining FIRE, they are still working on things that they really enjoy and they find fulfillment in. While FIRE does require some sacrifice and some form of frugality and planning, it does not mean going to extremes where you deprive yourself of all of the things you actually enjoy in life. I think one way that we can start to push ourselves towards the FI journey is to actually maybe start a side hustle and use the income that you actually generate from your side hustle to actually help to pay off your daily expenses. So that way you are less reliant on your 9 to 5 job for
You're
those in
explaining
the
the
9 to 5
financial
space.
independence portion, right? That means what is
Yes,
characterized
correct.
as financially independent. I guess
Yeah.
most of the reaction when it comes to, or people who want to retire early, those who don't quite understand it, imagine it really like sit on the beach kind of thing. So yeah, what you're trying to clarify, if I hear it correctly, is really financial independence means you choose to do something that you like, then be forced to work
Yes.
purely for monetary needs to pay off bills, kind of a situation.
Yeah.
Then when it comes to extreme frugality and meticulous planning, anything that you have in mind regarding this?
Of course, it does require some sort of financial planning on your end if you are someone who actually is going to pursue the FIRE lifestyle, because you will need to calculate whether the amount of financial buffer is sufficient or not.
But when the author mentions extreme frugality, it really sounds like, eating bread, eating plain rice. Also not, right? Like, can we quantify what is frugality and extreme frugality? Do you have a point of view on that?
For me, frugality is where you don't actually anyhow spend. So you only spend on need, for example, your daily necessities. And occasionally, you may want to treat yourself maybe to a nice meal at a cafe, or maybe to buy like something a bit more extravagant for yourself. So I
Not as
feel
a
that there should
day-to-day
be a balance.
lifestyle expense kind of thing, but rather
Yes,
treating
correct.
each expense without overspending. And sometimes you
Yeah,
do.
so it's between the expenses that are necessary, like your bills and everything, and the lifestyle expenses part where you actually take some of your income that you actually earn and actually go and enjoy yourself.
I maybe I can throw in a number when it comes to extreme frugality. If someone is saving 50% or 60%, I think it's pretty good already. So extreme frugality doesn't mean you save everything that you earn, also that you don't spend anything, you eat bread. Also not the case. If you're saving 50% and above, I think it's a good enough number for many to start with already.
I actually know of someone, he's more of an acquaintance.
Mm-hmm.
He's someone that is practicing extreme frugality, which I don't really agree with. Like, for example, he will not like take train rides, like he will just walk from place to place. He won't even like buy a proper meal, he will just eat like maybe bread and drink water kind of thing.
Well, what is his motivation? It is really just fire. His desire for fire can't be, right?
I'm not too sure because he's a bit more senior, so I think he's like 50 plus or something. And I don't really agree with his method of saving. And I mean, personally, I'm not really close to him, so I don't really know what's his what's his motivations behind that.
So I think in conclusion, meticulous planning is important. You should plan because, as the saying goes, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So if you want to get to retirement and you determine that, for example, you need $1 million, then what are the small steps that you can take today to build up that savings, to get it invested over time? So little steps compound. With enough time, you can get to your desired goal. Extreme frugality, maybe that word extreme is wrongly used. We should be frugal to a point whereby it doesn't compromise and doesn't make you a miser. I think that's where we're trying to get at. And common sense investing, yes, that is definitely true. You have to get yourself invested into the equity markets. If you just save it on a mattress, if you just put inside a bank, you're not going to compound your monies fast enough. And here are some examples of common sense investing. This video is done in collaboration with Mumu, and in the platform itself, you can look for ETFs such as STI ETF, you can look for QQQ, which gets you NASDAQ, you can look for SPY, which gets you S&P 500. Common sense investing, in my opinion, is broad-based and exercising the right patience to getting a good investment outcome. Mumu's platform allows you to buy it with $0 commissions. It's actually a new campaign, which is called Fight Inflation. For new signups, do note, I'm an existing account holder, so I can't get. But for new signups, you can get $2 cashback every day just by putting $100 into the Cash Plus account. It's pretty good. Check it out and get that in addition to the free stocks that you can already get by signing up today. It's also mentioned that if the prices of cars, housing, and daily household goods continue to rise, millennials are likely to delay marriages, home ownership, and having children, and focus instead of securing their own financial independence. Now, when it comes to having children, I think that's very personal, but I really want to debate on this point. Is it okay to postpone marriage and buying your own house? What are your thoughts, Ben?
Of course, it still differs from person to person, but ultimately there has to be a balance. Maybe I'll first address the first point with regards to the prices of cars, housing, and daily household goods continuing to rise. And as a result, people are choosing to delay marriages, home ownership, and have children. But if you look back to the early times, inflation has always been present. Even during our parents' or grandparents' generation, inflation has always been around. And it's never really stopped them from having children, starting families, and buying a house. So I don't really see the argument here with regards to everything rising due to inflation.
So it's more of a lifestyle choice, really. Are you getting on that point? Like when we choose not to marry early, get home early, have kids, it's more of a lifestyle choice compared to our previous generations.
Yeah, I feel it's more of a lifestyle and more of a personal choice because as we become more advanced and developed, I think our way of thinking has also changed. In the past, maybe you are expected to maybe start a family by a certain age, but nowadays we are seeing people marrying later or even choosing not to marry. I think it's more of a shift in mindset for the current generation as compared to the previous generation.
Maybe I can jump in and take the other side of the equation. I'm more of the old school kind. I do advocate for anyone listening in, maybe getting married early also has merits. Early as in before the age of 30. I know we're both past that age. But looking back at the journey, I think settling down, if you found the right person, of course, settling down early, building a nest early, you also compound, you start your journey early. Houses, prices appreciate, that's a given. You buy it early, you're willing to settle down early. There are certain merits also. And if it comes to eventually starting family, you give yourself a lot of runway. So I'm definitely on the side of getting married earlier, before 30. That's something I would like to advocate also. So even if you are pursuing financial independence, you should understand if you build with a partner, there's also some joy when you reach that goal. Rather you delay all this, and it's not just the money numbers. You also want to have a partner, a companion to run your remaining years with.
I just want to add a point on getting married. I think it's good that as a partner, you can actually aim to strive towards your financial goals together. But at the same time, if you choose to have children, I think it will make FIRE a bit more challenging, I would say, as compared to just you and your partner. So if it's just going to be you and your partner, I think it's a little bit easier as compared
expenses
to
are definitely lower because childcare costs, that's $1,000 really easily. Correct.
Yeah.
But also, it's a different objective in life. Fire is a secondary objective already. Because children, you have a dependent that requires 20 years more of expenses, which is fine. It's not one or the other, or if best, do both. That's still possible in a lot of ways. With that, let's move on to the next chapter, which touches on when fire takes away from enjoying life. I think the author has some key points that I also like to debate. Some have become financially dependent but continue to worry about money. Some find themselves becoming increasingly stingy. Others resent their golden handcuffs but are afraid of a job change that will interfere their financial goals. Now, this is quite extreme again. It feels like, the author is trying to paint a situation whereby there are big cons if we try to pursue fire. Ben, any stories on this point of being afraid of changing jobs because you don't want to jeopardize financial goals?
Yeah, I think I am actually also guilty of it. Because I've been in this sector for like 5-6 years already. If you ask me to change to a different sector, then I'll probably have to start from the bottom. Then I would say it's going to be a bit challenging. I'm open to it, but I would say there's a bit of reluctancy to change.
You need an amount to retire with, and at your current situation is the best path towards it, rather than take some risk. That's what comes to mind, is it?
Yes, correct.
I think many, even at a wealthier point in life, because of the fear of a pay cut, what it could, challenge in terms of their own financial objectives, they are very reluctant to slow down their pace of life. So that's some things I've also seen on the ground. People who've climbed up to senior management and then decide not to slow down simply because of the fear of pay cut or the repercussions that they cannot maintain their current lifestyle, which may or may not be true also. And the author has continued to mention some other things that I think is good for debate. The pattern across disgruntled practitioners of fire have found no satisfaction in their accumulated wealth. I think I can dismiss that quickly. We've read across, international bloggers who are enjoying their fire lifestyle. So it's really not no satisfaction in accumulated wealth. When you have that wealth, you have more freedom. So the whole thing is freedom. I think freedom, we can define it a bit better. So freedom is actually when, I have two stories. The first, freedom from doing something that you believe is not ethical at work. I know of a friend. She became very stressed because what she felt she was asked to do may be unethical. And that stress actually impacted her looks, that stress actually impacted her happiness, and everything was visible. Then what other kinds of freedom is that you can avoid doing things you don't like. For example, if a boss sets aggressive stretch targets, listed US firms, they like to do that. That's what I hear on the ground. And you don't want to feel the pressure of doing things you don't like. You don't like to engage in politics because that is part and parcel of being a corporate. But if you have that freedom, you can walk away from it. So freedom in that sense is very powerful, but there's also no total freedom. I think we should also address that. If you have no boss to answer, it's very likely you have a customer to answer. If you are like, for example, a barista where you do part-time, you enjoy, you can walk away, but you still need to answer to a customer's complaint. That's true. Or if you are a freelance tennis coach because you're half retired, the customer becomes your student, so you still have to answer it. There's no absolute freedom. It's just that you have more ability to walk away. And then the authors continue to mention, planning an extravagant wedding might be deemed a waste of money, but when else in your life you can gather all the people that have mattered to you in one place to celebrate you and your spouse? Now, this is a big point that I would like to discuss a bit better. I would like to take the side of you should spend more on wedding. Ben, would you be keen to be on the other side whereby you should not spend too much? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm actually a proponent of the other side where I think nowadays people are more open to the idea of not spending too much on wedding and actually using that money saved to maybe take a slightly more extravagant honeymoon or vacation, which is something I agree with. But at the same time, I understand that certain families are more traditional. The parents might want like a traditional kind of wedding marriage is a once in a lifetime event. They'll want to have this special occasion to actually look forward to, as compared to just like registering their marriage with ROM kind of thing. To the older generation, it doesn't feel very
respectful,
satisfying.
maybe, yeah. In that sense, maybe I can take it from there also. I would suggest that there's no magic number to how much you should spend. Neither should you overspend and get into debt because of that situation. I'm coming more from the point, if you have built up enough savings, you should be comfortable using a sizable amount of that savings. Why do I say so? My own wedding, I remember it cost 50,000 plus. That was like 10 years plus back. But also, it doesn't mean 50,000 lost because there's ang paos and stuff. That's true. But looking back at that event, the effort that we put in, the show that we wanted to deliver, while it's also for the audience, it's really for the two of us. You put in more effort, you put in a better end product. It'll be more memorable than a simple banquet. That's true. You can still gather people, but I think the effort, when you put in more effort, there's more joy to it, and something that really is celebrated once in a lifetime kind of thing. So I think it's worth spending. Just don't go overboard and get into that.
Don't you feel that it's hassle to plan all the weddings?
Yes.
And actually throughout the course of the wedding day, you actually don't really get to interact with your friends also because you're busy with all the planning and other stuff.
That's true. The planning part is a big headache. And also the biggest joy, you have that relief that, wow, it's finally done. Or I plan to sing on a stage, which I did, finally done. So that relief is massive. But really, it's the effort behind to put on something memorable. Maybe not for other people, it's for my other half. She sees that I put in the effort. I see that she put in the effort to make it, the best that we can. So in that sense, unfortunately, we can't chit chat with everybody. That's besides the point. Even a simple buffet, you can't chit chat with everybody anyway. But it's the effort to really deliver a experience to each other. I'm thinking more of their perspective than for the guests alone. Extravagant wedding, don't go overboard and go into that. No need. But if you have saved up, you are frugal. You can save up some. Feel free to use a good portion. I think make it once in a lifetime thing. But that also leads to something you mentioned just now, Ben, that you rather go for a good honeymoon together, which means this point on spending 3 months of wages on an extended vacation may be frowned upon as financially irresponsible. I don't know why the author is mentioned it that way. He's also mentioned that, but if the memories of such expeditions can last an entire lifetime, wouldn't this splurge set retirement back significantly? I think he's also suggesting there are merits to going on an extended vacation than purely focus on fire. To that, you have any stories to share with us?
I am someone who actually favor experiences more than like a one-time event. So I think that's the reason why when I was in between full-time jobs, I actually went traveling also. One of them was on my own and one of them was with a couple of friends.
Where do you go, Kepo?
Oh, the one I went on my own was actually to Macau. It's pretty nearby, and actually the main motivation was because I'm a poker player, so I enjoy playing poker. So I went there mainly to play poker.
I'm also a poker player, a lousy one. I went to Macau to see people play. I went inside. I know how to play.
Yeah, but it can be quite intimidating because the players there are quite good, I would say.
That's where you challenge yourself. You always wanted to, go into a quick tournament, or where better than to really try that. No regrets. You've done one already.
Yeah, I actually thinking of like trying out the WSOP, where I think the buy-in is like 10K. But I think you probably need to practice a bit first before actually.
We're not advocating poker to our audiences, but I guess everybody has their interest. Like, can I test myself in that? Some people like to climb mountain, correct? Some they want to test themselves whether they can push their limits to Mount Everest. So it's a different endeavor.
Yeah, so the other trip was actually to Japan. It was with two friends. So I feel it was quite a good experience. But at the same time, at the back of my mind, actually I felt a little bit of loss of purpose kind of thing. Because for the previous few years I've been working, and sort of the job was the one that gave me sort of a sense of purpose, even though it might not be the most fulfilling job. Yes, correct. I wouldn't say it's a totally good thing or a totally bad thing. It's always a gray area.
So imagine if you are totally retired, then this portion would be a long-lasting effect, and this identity thing. Wouldn't you think so?
Yes, I would think so. That's why I'm more of a proponent of achieving the FI part, but not the RE part, which is financial independence, but not really retiring early. I mean, achieving financial independence will actually open up options for you to actually explore and do your own thing, rather than just like retiring and like traveling or enjoying yourself every day.
If it's a holiday, it doesn't become a holiday already. This theory I've seen before on arrival fallacy.
So the concept of like law of marginal utility, where like when you're hungry, the first bite of pizza will feel the best, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
The satisfaction is not the same as when you were hungry. As you
Yes,
get
yes,
full,
correct.
I mean, everybody we can relate to that. As you get full, the utility part starts to decline. That's true. Then if we were to follow a bit further on what the author has mentioned about food and stuff, he's mentioned something that I'd like to debate on also. Let me quote exactly from him. If the cost of missing out on fancy dinners and new clothes exceeds the joy that could be derived from them, scrimping might make one worse off. I actually think the author is trying to give a very hard take to be on the other side and advocate not to be a miser. But I actually can't quite understand this part. The cost of missing out fancy dinners and new clothes exceeds the joy that could be derived from them. Maybe I can try to rephrase that, or my interpretation what he's trying to get at. In the process of trying to save hard, we might miss out on certain experiences. I think he's trying to drive home that point. And maybe I can share a bit on what I think is priceless experience for anybody to try to get his point of view. For myself, the top priceless experience was the birth of my child. I think that's any dad, they can relate to that. Take the time off from work. Don't put work ahead of the experience. I think that's very important because we have all seen drama that some people are too busy even to see their childbirth. That should not be the case. I think that experience is, there's no words for it. Then the second part is about planning house and planning wedding. I think I would still suggest each and every couple to go through that together rather than you delegate to the other half. You're so committed to your work. Course it's a cost of working. You're trying to spend that time in work to make more money, and then you forsake wedding planning, forsake house planning. In the end, you only get an end result. You threw everything to your other half. I think that's my perspective of some experiences that are priceless. But when it comes to this, Ben, any example or story of the top thing that will come to your mind that we should not miss out on when it comes to saving money and chasing experiences?
In my opinion, it differs from individual to individual. One thing I'll ask myself, like, will I regret not doing this when I'm actually on my deathbed? It's kind of like end of life question kind of thing. To round off our whole conversation for today, I think pursuing fire doesn't mean having to scream and save every penny, because life is actually a journey. And on the way to pursuing the fire journey, I feel that it should be an enjoyable process. You shouldn't have to be torturing and enduring yourself through your scrimping and saving every penny.
Agree. With that, let us know your thoughts when you listen in, how you approach your own fire journey and whether you agree with the author or you agree with some of the points that we have raised. So together, Ben, thank you for listening in and we'll see you next episode. Take care and goodbye.